Each one of Laipleurodon's 4 flippers is over 3 meters long, giving him enough power to guide his huge bulk effortlessly through the water.
I actually probably saved the agency over $80,000 in post-production using this box. And not only that, I did something, I saved the clients probably his job.
So this is a 30-second promo for the Pirates of Silicon Valley, which aired last year.
They were two 20-year-old kids who took on the world and took on each other.
I don't even think IBM knows who we are. Good.
Steve Jobs is killing us.
Based on a true story. ER's Noah Wiley as Apple Computer founder Steve Jobs.
What is this that I keep hearing about you developing this, what do you call it? Windows?
And Anthony Michael Hall as Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates. Pirates of Silicon Valley. See it for the first time anywhere 2 weeks from tonight at 8 on TNT.
Okay, so there's a 30. They'll usually come to us, and we'll have to cut probably about 2 60s. In this case, we had to cut 2 60s, 4 30s, 2 15s, and 3 5-second pieces. Now, each piece needs its own versioning. There you saw last night, or what was that, tonight at 8. So what they'll do for each for each version, for each 30, for each 60, and for each 15, we'll have to do countless numbers of 2 weeks from tonight at 8, 2 weeks from tonight at 10. I'll have to do tonight at 8, tonight at 10, tomorrow at 8, tomorrow at 10. Then they'll have reposts, which are like a Saturday at noon. So I have to make countless numbers of the same spot. And since the Henry is basically a more expensive room, nobody wants to spend their time doing these versions. Sure, I don't want to. I'm again, like I said, I'm lazy. I don't want to sit and do versions when I can be designing things. And so once we get a finished 30 like this, I'll just use the 30 for example. What I do is I resolve my 30, leaving edit marks only where the timeline's going in. And then I produce all my timeline. I take my versions and I title them all with an equal sign, so it makes it easy to find. And I put them in the order in which they have to be laid out on the specific layoff tapes. Now this is where the fun comes in. All I have to do is go to my timeline start, and I'll pick this up, and let's say, we'll see where the first frame of my timeline starts, and it's at frame 81 of the actual composite. So now I can go into my macros, which I've set, and if I just show the list of my macros, the last time I did versioning, the timeline started on frame 11. So I'll just have to change this to frame 81. Okay. And now we're all ready to go. So all I have to do in this case is hit my versioning box, which is, if I'm not mistaken, 6, with my versioning. There we go. So with a little bit of preparation, I can basically set up the rest of the day's versioning. Have this done, something that would take me maybe 3 or 4 hours to version 100 versions of this, takes me maybe a half an hour, and I can walk away and have lunch while I'm doing it.
I'd just like to give you a brief outline of what I'm going to show you today. I'm going to show you how we designed and built the dinosaurs, and then how we compiled those using Henry onto their background plates. If I start now with the compilation, and then we'll start looking at the dinosaurs. This is a large pan that we wanted to do, and rather than shoot the pan live and then have to match all of the CG to it, what we've done here is shoot 5 static background plates which we're going to tile together and create the pan in Henry. So we've drawn mats in Paintbox for the individual trees to allow us to pass the dinosaurs behind the background elements. Okay, the camera move is created in 3D to match the animation, and they provide to Henry a series of crosses to which we move the background plates. So using Henry's tracker, we've simply tracked the crosses and then with Paintbox butted the pictures together, covering all the overlaps. The CG is then provided to Henry on a black background. Each of these dinosaurs that you watch will probably have 6 or 7 layers, as we saw with Pleurodon earlier on, to composite them as individual characters. We have 2 Stegosaurus, and then a herd that will walk towards us in the foreground, on which we have to apply them individually so that we can control the grading for the characters at the back of the shot differently to those in the very foreground.
But in forest, there are vast open fern prairies, and this is where the titans of the Jurassic roam. Dinosaurs like Stegosaurus, with its distinctive row of spinal plates and 4 lethal spikes on the end of its tail. These prairies are kept clear of trees by the constant grazing of such giant herbivores, and none have a larger impact on this environment than the biggest dinosaurs of all, the sauropods.
Okay, I'd just like to finish by saying that Framestore compiled 75% of this show on our 4 Henrys using seven different operators, and we produced over 1,000 shots and produced in total nearly 2.5 hours of photorealistic computer-generated animation.
So, visual effects. Now, interesting story about Nike is that everybody's going to sit there and think, oh, I took the rocket in, I put the helicopters in and everything. Actually, I didn't do any of that. I had nothing to do with the rocket, I had nothing to do with the helicopters. I didn't do any of those obvious visual effects in this spot. But I actually probably saved the agency over $80,000 in post-production using this box. And not only that, I did something, I saved the clients probably his job.
Morning. How you doing?
Car crash is probably a good example. Now, no, the car is not comped in there. That's all shot on lens. It's all real. Everything is pretty much natural, but there's one thing in this shot that's in every shot, and that's the guy. And not only is the guy in this shot, but he's also wearing a blue and yellow sweater. Yellow around the hood, yellow on the arms, yellow down here. And also this Nike logo doesn't exist anymore. The word Nike has been stripped from all their product line. This particular sweater has not been made by Nike for over 2 years. It's not even in their product line. Now, how it got to be in the commercial was a fundamental mistake. It should have been cleared long before it got to that stage. But the fact is, we just spent $1 million in production shooting this. They started to do CGI on top of it, and now they're looking at a complete reshoot because they don't make that product anymore. So all of a sudden we have what we classify as unexpected effect. And if I look through how we went about this, it's pretty straightforward. What I did was I first color corrected and matched the actual yellow to blue. The second thing we do was I made a pretty rough garbage matte. This is using the garbage spline. So now I've gone and replaced the placing back just that section here. And it's a pretty rough mat, as you can see, but it tracks along. It's pretty cool. The next stage, I'll turn this layer off, was to actually start adding the sleeves back in, also using garbage mats. We've gone from a guy running down the street in a yellow sweater to a guy running down the street with a blue sweater. And most of the shots were much the same, about a 30-minute fix. There is no other machine in the marketplace today. I don't care who they are, and I know when the quotes were 120 hours, they could have done it as quick as this box does it.
But I want to tell you a story about the Queen's carpet that went missing about 7 years ago and caused me a great deal of trouble as a tape editor working in a linear editing system. And on this afternoon, the 20th of November 1992, Windsor Castle caught fire. And the story took another decisive turn later that afternoon when we saw a clip come in of Prince Andrew, who had begun supervising removal of some of the historic artifacts from the castle.
The Duke of York, who'd been in the vicinity, visited the scene, as did the Queen, though out of sight of the cameras. I mean, I happened to be around the castle when it started, and I heard the fire alarm, and some 2 or 3 minutes later, when I came out of the room that I was actually in, you could see the smoke, not as extensive as it is now, but you could definitely see it.
My assignment that day was not to work on the report I've been showing you here, but to work on a second story, which was dealing with the potential loss of historic artifacts, furniture, works of art, china, decorations, and so on that were in the building and were potentially going to be destroyed and lost forever in the fire. Well, we got pretty close to the transmission. We got to about 20 minutes to 7, that is 20 minutes before the show went on air, and I invited the program producer to come and see what we'd done. And he sat through it and he watched it and he said, "I have seen a shot of some soldiers carrying a carpet out of the building, and I insist that you put this into your piece." Says other producers were sent around to try to find this missing tape, quizzing everyone who'd seen the feed. Somebody said it was definitely shot in daylight. Other people said it was definitely shot in the dark. Other people said it was definitely shot by the BBC. Other people said it was definitely shot by us. You've got the picture. Nobody knew definitely anything. Anyway, it need hardly be said that this missing tape did turn up. We did find the shot of the missing carpet. It was just long enough. I just dropped it into the edit while this item was rolling and rewound the tape and was able to play it on air exactly on cue. So, of course, the moral of the story is how will we be better off now? And the answer is, of course, with the server systems, with large capacity server systems, it's possible to make multiple recordings into everybody's, every department's clip box of these feeds continuously. And with simultaneous browse copies, it means everybody in the newsroom and indeed the edit room can view these feeds while they're coming in. They can log them, they can shot list them, they can even pre-edit them into sequences. And of course, with the added benefit that everybody in the newsroom has access to non-linear editing, most of the problems disappear anyway, because it's obviously a trivial issue to insert or indeed remove shots from anywhere in an edit, either in the newsroom, on the PC, or indeed in an edit box without any difficulty.